If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Sharing it with your friends and family helps spread knowledge. And when we help others grow, we grow too. Thank you so much for listening. Let's dive into the podcast. Origins: The Rise of Global Institutions. The year was 1913, and something strange was happening in America. Behind closed doors, powerful men gathered to discuss a plan that would change how money worked forever. They called it the Federal Reserve System. Most people didn't understand what this meant. Banks would now answer to a central authority. Money itself would be controlled by a small group of officials. The old ways of local banks making their own decisions were ending. Whispers began almost immediately. Why did these changes happen so quietly? Who really made these decisions? The public had little say in creating this new system, yet it would touch every dollar they earned. Across the ocean, world leaders were drawing up plans for something even bigger. After the Great War ended, they announced the League of Nations. Countries would now work together under one roof. Decisions about war and peace would be made by committees in distant buildings. People watched with growing unease. Their local governments seemed to have less power each year. Important choices were being made by groups they had never heard of, in places they would never visit. The pattern continued. In 1945, the United Nations emerged from the ashes of another world war. This organization was even more powerful than the League. It could send peacekeepers anywhere. It could make rules that countries had to follow. Then came the money organizations. The International Monetary Fund and World Bank opened their doors. They promised to help poor countries, but the help came with strings attached. Nations had to change their laws and policies to get loans. Citizens began asking uncomfortable questions. Why were so many new organizations appearing? Why did they all seem connected to the same small group of wealthy families and politicians? Why was power moving away from local communities and toward distant bureaucrats? The timing felt too perfect to be coincidence. Each crisis seemed to create a need for more global cooperation. Each solution required giving up a little more independence. Researchers started connecting the dots. The same names appeared on different organization charts. The same ideas showed up in speeches by leaders from different countries. The same banking families funded multiple international projects. Documents emerged showing private meetings where these plans were discussed years before they became public. Rich industrialists and government officials met in secret to plan the future of entire nations. The questions multiplied faster than the answers. Were these organizations truly working for world peace and prosperity? Or were they building something else entirely? Something that would concentrate power in ways the world had never seen before. The foundation was being laid, piece by piece, institution by institution. Shadows and symbols. Secret societies enter the picture. The year was 1954. A small hotel in the Netherlands quietly hosted an unusual gathering. Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands had invited 50 of the most powerful people in Europe and America for a private weekend. No press was allowed. No official records were kept. They called it the Bilderberg Group. What happened in those closed rooms? Nobody knows for sure. The participants signed agreements never to speak about their discussions. Year after year, they continued meeting. Always in secret, always behind locked doors. Soon, other exclusive groups began forming. The Trilateral Commission brought together leaders from 3 continents. The Council on Foreign Relations gathered America's most influential minds. Each group claimed innocent purposes: economic cooperation, international understanding, peaceful dialogue. But people started asking hard questions. Why the secrecy? Why always the same faces? Why did major world events seem to follow patterns discussed at these meetings? Media outlets tried to get inside. They were turned away. Reporters camped outside hotels where meetings took place. Security forces surrounded the buildings. The more these groups hid, the more suspicious they appeared. Then someone noticed something strange. The symbols these organizations used looked familiar. Very familiar. That eye floating above a pyramid on every dollar bill suddenly seemed less innocent. The same symbol appeared in their materials. Ancient imagery showed up in their ceremonies. The Eye of Providence had watched over America since the Founding Fathers. Now it seemed to be watching everything else too. People began connecting dots that perhaps were never meant to be connected. In 1973, David Rockefeller founded the Trilateral Commission. Critics pointed out that 3 of the next 4 American presidents were members before taking office. Coincidence? Maybe. But the pattern was unsettling. Hotel guest lists leaked occasionally. The names read like a who's who of global power. Prime ministers sat beside oil executives. Media moguls chatted with central bankers. Defense contractors shared meals with diplomats. These weren't chance encounters. These were carefully planned gatherings of people who could change the world with a phone call. Local protesters began appearing at meeting sites. They carried signs with eyes and pyramids crossed out. They demanded transparency. They wanted answers about who really made the decisions that affected millions of lives. The groups maintained their silence. They insisted their conversations remained private to encourage honest discussion. Critics wondered what required such extreme secrecy among people who claimed to serve the public good. Each leaked detail raised 10 new questions. Each symbol discovered opened doors to deeper mysteries. The puzzle was becoming clearer, but the picture it revealed made many people very uncomfortable. Who was really in charge? Unveiling control, surveillance, and social engineering. The year was 1936 when something quietly changed in America. Social security numbers arrived, promising safety for workers. But hidden in this helpful system was something else. For the first time, every citizen would carry a number, a way to track them from birth to death. Few people noticed at first. The numbers seemed harmless enough. Just a way to organize retirement benefits. But careful observers saw something different. They watched as these 9 digits spread far beyond their original purpose. Banks wanted them. Employers demanded them. Government agencies collected them. By the 1970s, something new appeared. Credit databases grew like digital spiders, spinning webs of personal information. Every purchase, every loan, every financial move got recorded somewhere. Companies like Experian and Equifax built massive files on millions of people. They knew who paid bills late, who moved often, who spent money on what. The computer age brought stranger developments. In 1993, researchers at Los Alamos created tiny chips called RFID tags. These chips could be read from a distance without anyone knowing. They started in warehouses, tracking boxes and products. But soon they appeared in credit cards, passports, even employee ID badges. Then came the shocking discovery. In 2002, reporters exposed something called the Information Awareness Office. This government program, hidden inside DARPA, planned to watch everyone. They wanted to collect phone calls, emails, travel records, and shopping habits. The goal was to spot terrorists before they acted. But critics asked a troubling question. Who would watch the watchers? The office officially closed after public outcry. Yet strange things kept happening. Whistleblowers emerged with disturbing stories. They spoke of secret rooms in telephone companies where government agents copied every call. They described programs that read millions of emails without warrants. Edward Snowden changed everything in 2013. His leaked documents revealed programs most people never imagined. The government was collecting phone records from every American. They watched internet traffic from around the world. They even spied on friendly nations and their leaders. Meanwhile, private companies built their own watching systems. Google tracked search histories. Facebook recorded social connections. Amazon knew buying habits. These companies shared information with each other and sometimes with governments. Privacy advocates fought back through courts and protests. Some won important battles. Others disappeared into legal battles that lasted years. But for every program exposed, observers wondered how many remained hidden. Today, cameras watch from every corner. Phones track every step. Purchases leave digital fingerprints. The tools exist to monitor anyone, anywhere, anytime. Whether this power serves protection or control depends entirely on who holds the switch. The question remains, in a world where privacy vanishes daily, who really decides what happens next? Crisis and power, false flags and martial law fears. The morning of September 11th, 2001 changed everything. As the towers fell, something else crumbled too. Trust between the government and its people. Within hours, questions began to surface. How did the attacks happen? Who knew what and when did they know it? The official investigations painted a picture of intelligence failures and missed signals. But for many Americans, the answers felt incomplete. They watched as new laws appeared almost overnight. The Patriot Act passed just 45 days after the attacks, expanding government surveillance powers beyond anything seen before. Critics wondered how such a massive piece of legislation could be written so quickly. Fear became a powerful tool. Politicians spoke of imminent threats and the need for sacrifice. Citizens watched their emails, phone calls, and library records become fair game for government monitoring. Airport security transformed from simple metal detectors to full-body scanners and intrusive searches. Years earlier, the Y2K scare had shown how quickly panic could spread. Computer experts warned that the world's systems would crash when the year 2000 arrived. Governments spent billions preparing for chaos that never came. But the event revealed something important: how easily populations could be convinced to accept extraordinary measures in the face of perceived threats. FEMA camps became another source of whispered concern. These emergency facilities, built to house disaster victims, sparked darker theories. Why were they being constructed in remote locations? Why the barbed wire and guard towers? Official documents described them as temporary housing for hurricane or earthquake victims. But skeptics saw something more sinister: detention centers ready for mass arrests during times of crisis. Each new emergency brought expanded powers. Hurricane Katrina in 2005 showed federal forces deployed on American soil, confiscating weapons from law-abiding citizens. The 2008 financial crisis led to unprecedented government intervention in private markets. Each time, the response grew stronger, the powers broader. Military exercises on American soil became more common. Operations with names like Jade Helm sparked concern when soldiers trained in civilian areas, practicing scenarios that looked disturbingly like martial law. Official explanations spoke of counter-terrorism training, but residents in small Texas towns wondered why their neighborhoods had become battlegrounds. The pattern seemed clear to those watching closely. Crisis arrives, fear spreads, new powers emerge. Each event left behind a legacy of expanded government authority that never quite returned to previous levels. Like water slowly rising, each wave of crisis brought the tide of control a little higher. Documents released through Freedom of Information Act requests revealed discussions of continuity of government plans, shadow procedures for maintaining order during national emergencies. These plans, dating back decades, outlined how civilian authority could be suspended and military control established. The questions multiplied faster than the answers. Were these genuine responses to real threats, or something more calculated? The evidence painted a complex picture that left room for doubt on all sides. Modern suspects, elites, media, and current controversies. The year 2020 changed everything. As governments shut down cities and told people to stay home, something strange began to happen. Whispers grew louder about who was really pulling the strings. Bill Gates appeared on television screens around the world. He talked about vaccines and digital health passes. People watched him speak at conferences years earlier about reducing population growth. They remembered his words about using technology to track diseases. When he funded vaccine research worth billions of dollars, questions multiplied like wildfire. George Soros faced similar scrutiny. His Open Society foundations had quietly supported media outlets across dozens of countries for decades. During the crisis, these same outlets pushed identical messages about public health measures. Fact-checkers emerged everywhere, many funded by his organizations. Critics noticed the pattern and felt uneasy about who controlled the information flow. The Rothschild family remained quieter, but no less watched. Their banking networks had weathered every major crisis for 2 centuries. When central banks printed trillions of new dollars during the pandemic, their institutions helped distribute the money. Ancient wealth meeting modern crisis management created perfect conditions for suspicion. Social media platforms began removing posts that questioned official stories. Twitter suspended accounts. Facebook flagged content as false information. YouTube deleted videos by doctors and scientists who disagreed with health policies. Each removal felt like proof to those who believed powerful forces were silencing opposition. Digital surveillance expanded rapidly under emergency powers. Contact tracing apps appeared in every country. QR codes became required for basic activities like buying food or attending events. Governments promised these measures were temporary, but similar promises during past crises had rarely been kept. The World Economic Forum held virtual meetings where leaders discussed building back better and creating a great reset. They spoke openly about transforming capitalism and reshaping society. Their own published documents outlined plans for digital currencies, universal basic income, and global governance structures. Critics pointed to these materials as evidence of coordinated planning among elites. Alternative news sources exploded in popularity as trust in traditional media fell. Independent journalists dug through patent filings, financial records, and corporate partnerships. They found connections between pharmaceutical companies, tech giants, media organizations, and philanthropic foundations that painted a web of shared interests. Each revelation fed growing suspicions that recent global events were not random accidents, but carefully orchestrated steps towards centralized control. The documented facts became ammunition for theories about hidden agendas and secret coordination among the world's most powerful individuals and institutions.